And I've actually told this to a couple of young brokers. I'm like, we're buyers. So one, is it a deal I can't do myself? Don't bring me, the old, don't bring me something just sitting right there on LoopNet. Show the value. Because if you're just passing me a listing, it's not the same. But if you show me what you've done to make this an opportunity, that's what I would pay anybody if I were to put them on salary. Thank you. This is a great deal for us.
Right. Welcome to Beyond the Blueprint, powered by Contractors, Closers, and Connections, Orlando. Join me for in-depth interviews with some of the top commercial real estate and development executives in the industry. We uncover their success stories, their strategies, and their lessons learned along the way. Gain valuable insight whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. Beyond the Blueprint, we are back with episode 2, sitting down with Miguel De Arcos, managing partner at Central Parc Group. I'm your host, Branson Bowen, and we are going to dive into a little bit more about commercial development. So Miguel, what is your layman's term definition of commercial real estate development?
Building assets. We talked a little bit earlier about multiple ways to be a developer. Some are merchant, build and sell, build and sell. Some use institutional money. We don't. But at the end of the day, commercial development for us, and the specific reason why we chose this, is we want to build assets that cash flow as well as appreciate, go up with inflation. I mean, the government's mandate is to raise inflation by at least 2% a year.
Right.
We're probably more like 5, 6, 7, 8% right now. But assets are one of the only things that actually keep up with that devaluing of the currency. Building and selling, putting a lot of money in my pocket. Granted, money market rates and CDs are really good right now, but sitting in a bank, you're actually losing money every year. So my partner, Dominic, with a great background in the financial world, we've decided we're going to create as many assets that are cash flowing as possible, put them up on the shelf, and let our kids take over the business one day. That's why we do what we do, and that's why we like to build or purchase if there's a good discounted value add opportunity. But for the most part, we enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, very little stress in the angle that we come at it from, which is we have 2 or 3 buddies that put all the money we need into these projects, and in addition to what we put in, and it's great. It's a lot of fun.
What is your, I guess, biggest draw to commercial development? Like, what do you enjoy the most about it?
Like anything, especially when you're getting started, it doesn't replace all your income when you have one little strip center.
Sure.
But if you can get to critical mass and you have, again, everything come. Episode 1, 2009, crushed. We had one source of income and it was shut off. So that's what we like. That's what we're drawn to, is the fact that these buildings themselves aren't businesses. They're not employees. We do own several other businesses, and you hear from those employees when they're not happy, and you hear when they're complaining and they can't come into work on Monday and this and that. The real estate doesn't talk back.
Sure.
It's fantastic. We have one salaried employee. She oversees our assets. Our boys go out and check out the properties when they're in town, make sure that there's no issues going on, check in with the tenants, and her job is to make sure that those buildings will last the next 50, 60 years. And triple net leases is retail and a lot of our medical office. So that way we don't have to be getting phone calls about the toilets leaking and the flickering lights in the ceiling. We didn't do your TI. Yeah. Don't call us. Call Branson.
Right.
He'll fix it for you. I'm not dealing with emergencies in the middle of the night. So we've kind of structured everything to be kind of follow the mantra of there are those who trade their time for money. We'd prefer to trade our money for time.
Sure.
If it means that we're going to have to be in there working on it every single day, whether it's a business or real estate, we're not really interested in that.
So you had mentioned that, the kind of legacy, right, that you're building for your kids.
Yeah.
Do they get a chance to see like finished product and are they starting to get their eyes on what's going on? Because, when Parker interned, he was like, I showed him, Reinhardt, and he was like, man, this is great. I'm like, okay, well, when you come back for Christmas, hopefully if Miguel gets his stuff together, we'll have this started.
Not Miguel.
Right. I'm just kidding.
It's County.
Yeah, I'm kidding. But,
that plat will come through eventually.
Yeah, right. He was really excited about just being
Yeah.
able to see. I mean, right now it's just paper, right?
Yeah.
And he can go see a piece of land, but just being able to see that process,
Yeah.
just even from a preliminary standpoint, instead of just seeing the building that's already done and tenants are already in there. So are they getting a chance to kind of see that a little bit more?
100%. And what you did for him, and my other son worked with another good friend of ours at Baker Barrios, but being able to go into those buildings, I mean, they've been hearing me talk about this stuff since they were babies,
Right.
and then just beating it in their head. You got to invest in assets. You got to this, just constantly. So that's one thing. But then to see it in action, we've driven by our projects and they've been in them a bunch, coffee shops and all this kind of stuff. So getting there and understanding and actually learning how to read the blueprints when he was with you is huge, because it starts to click.
Yeah.
And then they start to get excited. What I usually do with them in the summers is I say, here's a couple of bucks, go scrub out that dumpster enclosure. The one at the daycare with all the dirty diapers, or the grease trap right next to it, that one, go get that one. Nice. Make sure you can eat off that
He's
floor.
like, Dad, I don't want to do
development. I'm like, so now you know what you don't want to do with your life. And this is the fun stuff, is seeing it being built.
Right.
And we literally have these conversations, so much so that I get notes back from their personal finance teacher, like their freshman year in high school, saying, well, just so you know, they're not in trouble. He's not in trouble, but he wasn't talking in class. And I finally has to ask him a question. He's like, well, I disagree with your take. He goes, it's a 401k. What is there to disagree with? And he's like, I don't plan on making less money when I retire.
Right.
And he goes, son, you're right. Then you don't need a 401k if you're just going to keep, why? Because of real estate. Right. They're starting to get it, and then getting that real world experience, seeing how it comes together, just like we talked about earlier. Start sooner. Sure. If I can get them into the real estate game, whether it's brokerage, they can learn how to make those deals and find those golden nuggets. Because I'm not going to be able to find every deal that they ever do, and I don't want them chasing overpriced garbage. So I think they do need a background in brokerage. And then we can teach them development. I mean, what we do is not rocket science.
Right.
It's just not.
Right. You're just putting the deal together.
It's put a deal together and then hire great engineers, great contractors, great people, and work it all together. And then I learn something new on every single deal, still to this day. And it's been helpful. And they're really getting the bug. And again, I tell this to all the young brokers, get involved in the construction phase.
Right.
You might feel like you're in the way. You probably are. But if you have a good relationship with your landlord, learn something. Because one day, when you decide, I'll figure it out, you'll have a better legacy and understanding than those who just read a book and said, okay, I'm going to try this.
Right. So so we talked a little bit offline about, what types of developments you guys focus on. So you had mentioned that you're very opportunistic, right? Yeah. Seeing an opportunity, putting the deal together up front. Obviously, there was a strategic play there with your risk tolerance, right? Mm-hmm. And what you really wanted to chase. Do you have the opportunity to work with smaller type of tenants when you're doing opportunistic developments rather than big institutional stuff?
Yes. When I say opportunistic, it's... I learned this again a couple years in on brokerage when I was a rook is, okay, you could chase down every 1,200 square foot office lease. You're not going to make a ton of money. Or you could see a need and start working a fill it and create the opportunity.
Right.
And so once I started doing that, the deals were getting bigger. It was $2 million, $5 million, $10 million, okay, $16 million. And you're like, that's all I had to do?
Right.
Is you're providing massive value for all these big boys, just create an opportunity. That's what they all want. Stop sending me random stuff on LoopNet or sending me a flyer. Do the work. So I started doing that, and it really paid off. And from what we do now, I don't know if I'm answering your question right, but opportunistic, yes. Somebody calls and says, I got to fire sale something. Let me be your first call. But we're still creating opportunities. I mean, one example is the Reinhardt project that you're going to be helping us with is seller I've known for a very long time calls and says, we have 47 acres we want to sell. I said, great. It's all multifamily and a little commercial. I said, that's too big for somebody to bite off. But let me talk to some multifamily guys. And they're like, we're not going to build 700-800 units. I need 350. Well, Mr. Seller, let me do it's easy for me. Let me just do the master PD on paper. I'll eat the cost and we'll share the upside. No, we're not developers. I just need you to sell the property. Okay. We sell off the back piece, 5, 6 offers, the front piece, opportunity. I know that every municipality in the state is going to say, we want to see some commercial in front of that project. Yeah. We're not just going to let you put apartment doors everywhere. So I know this is going to happen. So I literally went to the 5, 6, 7 guys. I said, give me your best offer. And oh, by the way, I'm going to buy the commercial piece from you in the front. They're like, we really need some property. We'll take it. What are you offering? Well, $150,000? Great. We'll take it. It was 24 months before they finally get through the full plat and PD and all this kind of stuff. So now you guys got to plug me into your whole master PD. You guys are going to do all the work. You're going to set it up. You're going to do offsite master retention. You're going to do everything. We signed a contract 2 years ago for $150,000. It's fully approved. There's 680 units going up behind it, and all the master retention. It's fully lot permit ready. Do you think it's still worth $150,000?
No.
Like it's worth $1 million, maybe. So we're going to go do this project. That is me creating an opportunity, making sure everybody was taken care of. My seller got $1.5 million more than he expected to get on the whole project. He was stoked. And we just used our brokerage expertise to say, this is what we want to do. We did this as well over on International Parkway. You're going to have to do commercial. I'll buy the commercial piece from you. And early stage, it's not worth as much as it is once it's turnkey, fully entitled. Right. But these developers, single family guys, multifamily guys, they don't want to carry that question mark when they bring it into their board. They want to say, no, it's already sold. It's already off the books. So we've done that 2-3 times, right. And our land basis is amazing. So we like to create opportunities, or if we see an opportunity or we hear somebody that's, I need to unload this property for whatever reasons. Yeah, why don't you sell it to us? We'll lease it back to you and you'll have the cash in hand. Great. So I don't have to move my business.
Right.
There's a lot of different ways to do that. But what we don't do is take one tenant and chase deals across the country.
Right.
We do try to build a foxtail into our projects if we're going to do a drive-through, because obviously we have a vested interest in that. And some of our daycares we used to, we're kind of slowing down on those. But it becomes, okay, let's put our own tenants into our own buildings and we'll keep going from there.
Today's episode is brought to you by Bryce Knuth of Insurance Office of America. As a contractor or real estate owner in Florida, you've likely experienced the impact of rising insurance premiums year after year. With the challenging insurance marketplace, having a specialist who focuses on your industry is critical now more than ever before. If you'd like a second set of eyes on your current insurance program or don't have a relationship with your current broker, please contact Bryce Knuth at 407-697-6944 via call or text, or email bryce.knuth@ioausa.com. Don't let rising insurance costs catch you off guard. Reach out to Bryce today. So, I want to talk a little bit about something we talked about in episode 1, is that you got one of your ways that you kind of got into development and investing on the commercial side was that sweat equity portion.
Sure.
Right. And so when we talk about opportunity, I kind of tie opportunity and value hand in hand. And so someone young who might not have $100,000 to develop in a deal or to invest in a deal, what did that sweat equity kind of portion look like? Obviously you were putting the deal together, but how did you create enough value so that you could leverage to be able to get sweat equity into a deal?
That's a great question. And I've actually told this to a couple of young brokers. I'm like, we're buyers. We're not chasers, but we're buyers. I've done this whole diagram with them. If you put a deal together, come to me. Not only will the seller pay you, I'll cut you. If the deal has got enough juice in it, I will cut you in on that deal. Right. Why? Because you're going to bring me 10 more deals. You're going to be obsessing on the weekends about putting together deals to bring us. That's what I ended up doing. So how do you value that piece? It's difficult when you're just a broker if you don't really know how to. Well, if you're a CCM, you probably have a good idea of how to back into some financial returns, cash-on-cash returns. The higher the cash-on-cash return, the more play there is usually to bring somebody else in, especially somebody who's not contributing their own capital,
sure,
sweat equity. So one, is it a deal I can't do myself? Don't bring me, don't bring me something just sitting right there on LoopNet. Show the value. Because if you're just passing me a listing, it's not the same. But if you show me what you've done to make this an opportunity, that's what I would pay anybody if I were to put them on salary. Thank you. This is a great deal for us. Right. And then you just really do have to figure it out. You're worth what you think you're worth until the deal gets too tight. Right. So, if you can make 5-6% in bonds, high yielding bonds right now, or 5%, 5.5% on a money market account, nobody's gonna do a deal making a 6% cash on cash return. Why would you do that?
Right.
It's much safer just leave your money sitting in a money market. 10 or 12% cash on cash, son. If you bring me that, I got enough for you, a little bit. I mean, it's not a big piece, but a little bit for you, enough for the guys putting in all the money, and the juice is left over for us all day.
Right.
All day.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think,
it's an overlooked thing for a lot of young brokers. They don't think they're ready.
Right.
That's not true. You don't have to be ready. The deal you put together has to be ready. And if that's good, people will either pay you off on the side or maybe bring you in on a deal. Some can't. I mean, if you're a big organization, right, I can't have some outsider in the deal. But for guys like us,
right,
easy.
No problem. Yeah, I had that conversation with Chuck Hollis on one of the podcasts, and we talked about like how can a young commercial real estate professional be able to bring that type of value. And and he had mentioned that, like putting the deal together, showing how the numbers make sense, if you got tenants, if you got your construction costs,
come with a tenant,
come with the deal laid out. And I think, to go one step further, that's like, he had mentioned that that's how you get a deal done. Right. But going one step further and saying, okay, I'm bringing you this entire deal. I want equity in the deal. Right. Instead of just getting paid off.
I put a bow on this thing for you. And it's hard for a rookie to do this, but it gets to the point where I'm making you guys super rich.
Right.
You like me. We personally, you know what I'm about. This is not the first deal I brought you. I mean, don't get greedy on your first deal.
Sure.
But I'm putting bows on these things. Tenant, land, contractor, engineer said this is good. You'd be a fool not to do that. And if somebody does stiff you, call me and we'll take care of that.
Right.
Yeah. Because that's the holy grail.
Right.
Just keep feeding us deals that work for us and we'll keep going forever. So young brokers do have a big opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's something that they don't teach you, and they probably don't want you because they don't want you leaving the firm. Fine. Right. But if you do that enough, you could build a portfolio and then you do a little other stuff on the side. Sure. And pretty soon keep your day job. This is all passive income for you.
Right. So let's talk about a little bit about development and like the challenges that are associated with the development. Is there a specific challenge that you had to overcome that was really pivotal to your development career that you can remember or recall that kind of shaped you to how you think now?
No, we've always been very risk averse. Like I told you, our loan to value in our portfolio is like 60%, give or take. We just don't want to be over leveraged and be caught in the world is heading towards something. Right. In 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, there's something on the horizon. And I think a lot of folks are waiting to see what's on the other side of that for this next 10-year bull run to start before they get too aggressive again. But because we've always been, Dominic, my business partner, and I, we look at every deal and we scrutinize every tenant that comes to us. Even if it's that one tenant we need to trigger the financing, and I know it's the bane of the brokers we deal with, their existence, but they bring me a tenant ready, willing, able. I'll pay you $52 a square foot. We're ready. Let's go. We have one franchise over here, and this will be our second location. We need to see your personal balance sheet, your personal financials, and your business balance sheet. And we do that out of caution. Because what happens when I know you really want to do it and your other store's doing well, but what happens if it doesn't work? Then I have to evict you. I have to sue you, and I come after you. I'm going to bankrupt you. I do not want to do that. So we'll go the extra step and say, let us see these numbers. And if you have $20,000 of savings in the bank account, the answer is usually going to be no.
Thank you, but you need to find some
I don't think you're prepared. We own several businesses. We know when a $6,000 AC repair hits you like that, and then the other unit goes, oh gosh, it's very quick. Your marketing budget, how these tenants could put themselves into a zero cash situation. And we don't want to make our money by defaulting tenants. So we're super cautious, and we turn a lot of people away. Credit is everything. It's frustrating because they're ready to write.
Right.
We've removed tenants before, some willingly, nicely, and others kicking and screaming. So we avoid that. I don't know if I quite came around to your question, but we're very cautious on how we go forward.
Sure. And I think, the parameters of the question was just more about challenges and how you kind of view challenges and overcome them. What would you say that like thus far your biggest success has been in the commercial real estate space?
Well, my biggest challenge is we have 4 plots of land right now, 2 with permits. One is about to have one, and one we're just starting engineering on, and we're only going to go vertical on one.
Yeah.
Because contractors haven't decided to lower their prices yet. Interest rates where they are, not so much worried about that. I'm worried about where costs are and what's going to happen to these tenants.
Sure.
They are our lifeblood. If I jump in bed with a bunch and something happens, it takes the whole party with it. So we're just sitting and waiting, except for the one. And that's tough. We're in a good position on this dirt. Like I said, we buy right, but we want to be able to move forward. And we're just taking the cautious position. And because of the way we do this, we don't have an office full of staff and huge overheads and all this where you got to find another deal. We got to pay everybody. You got to find another deal.
Right.
We can just say, we've got our cash flow. Everything's covered. Our expenses are covered. Our personal expenses. We are good. There is no pressure for us to rush anything because that's where you make mistakes.
Sure.
So that's kind of the challenge question. I apologize. As far as successes, in the development space, honestly, I think we've had some great home run developments. We still own them. We've sold a couple, made great returns. One I mentioned, we went to go sell it in like January of 2020. Broker was like, you're only going to get this, and we probably shouldn't take it to market. I said, okay. 2 years later, we sold it for $2 million more than what this guy was willing to do it at, just because good timing. But I honestly think, some of the successes would be some of the tenant relationships that we've made. I know that sounds a little corny, but it helps because now as we go look at other projects, we can go look at other projects with some tenants in our back pocket.
Sure. And
we can say right out of the gate, this works for this group or that group. And so it really does help us fill up a center. And again, we don't break ground unless we're at least 50% pre-leased. We're not dumping institutional money. We're going to build the whole thing at once. We're cautious.
Sure. What would you say that your biggest motivator in just what you do would be?
My wife.
Yeah. 20 years.
I mean, I'm supposed to say that, right?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. 20 years. And when she sat me down on the couch in 2009, and my man, when I tell you the stress was so high, I am like self-medicating with alcohol. I'm like, I'm at the office till 10 o'clock every night. I don't know what to do. She put me at ease.
That's awesome.
Changed everything and changed my perspective. So find yourself a good woman.
Yeah.
Stand behind you.
The biggest decision you'll ever make.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
So, all right, we're going to jump into some rapid fire.
Ooh,
wrap this up. All right. What's something that most people don't know about you?
I am a Cuban kid from Miami that speaks no Spanish and loves country music.
Okay.
Don't ask me.
When are you the most productive?
Overall, most productive 7 to 8 in the morning for everything, but for actual work is 5 to 6 when the phone stops ringing and emails stop pinging. Less distractions.
What's something new happening in your life right now?
Well, I've got 3 boys. 2 are in college, so and the other one is completely self-sufficient. So the wife and I raised kids through our 20s. We're finally getting out and doing a lot more traveling.
That's awesome.
Hopping around, catching concerts, doing everything that we skipped.
Yeah. Building
a business and raising the kids in our mid-20s. So
that's good.
Getting after it.
What advice would you give your younger self?
I guess that would be live like you're poor, invest like you're rich, and learn how to use the tax code to your advantage. Sooner the better.
What does success look like for you?
Well, there's the obvious business success, but I'll just bring it back to the wife and a successful life. And I told her the reason why we got engaged so young, because I saw us in my mind, 80 years old, sitting on some rocking chairs, looking out on like 27 grandkids. And I'm like, okay, this is it. So that picture, financially independent, all my boys are self-sufficient, happy, long time married, that would be a successful life for me.
27 grandkids. You got 3 kids.
Well, great grandkids.
Okay.
Great grandkids. I mean, I'm 80. I'm 80. Listen, I'm 80. Listen, maybe. You never know. We're Catholic.
Yeah. There you go. If you had to ask or tell God one thing, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. The world is getting crazier and crazier by the minute. So I guess I would ask the good Lord above, let me know when you're going to send the next flood so I can start building the boat.
Yeah. That's a good question. Well, Miguel, man, it's been a pleasure. Both episodes are great. I think that there was a tremendous amount of value that you provided, and I really do believe and hope that the younger professionals in the industry and those moving and shaking can get something out of it. And
100%. There's so much opportunity, so much, but nobody tells them about it.
Right.
So maybe
that's
they
what we
pick
try
up
to
a
do
little
here.
clip here or there and realize, oh, I can do that. I don't have to wait till I'm 40.
So lastly, how can someone get a hold to you? What's the best way?
Miguel at centralparkgroup.com, park with a C. And
we'll put that in the comments.
Please. Yeah. So, happy to help wherever we can.
Well, man, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Beyond the Blueprint, it's been a great episode 2 with Miguel De Arcos, managing partner at Central Parc Group. See you next time. Stay tuned for more.